Hey guys, welcome back to RBR. Few people have ever come out of a 635 brake horsepower GT63S and said, that needs more power. Except for AMG, who've taken the world's fastest four-door, four-seat car on the ring and given it an F1 derived hybrid powertrain with 843 brake horsepower. This is AMG's GT63S E Performance, and that E Performance is the same model designation as Lewis and George's F1 car because it uses F1 tech in the first road car to really preview what every flagship from AMG in the future is going to be like. So this is the first car that we get to drive today that's going to give us an insight into what the future of AMG, or the modern AMG, is going to be like. So it can't be stated just how important this video is today. It also will give us a glimpse into what perhaps that C63 with the 4 cylinders is going to be like, and really every big car from AMG in the future. So today I'll show you that P3 hybrid system, the technology, the different EV and driving modes within the car that you can get, as well as the crazy electric sound mixed with the V8, which is super cool, before we launch control the car here on Spanish roads and see exactly what the future of AMG is going to drive like. So let's check it out, guys. This is the GT63S E Performance. So guys, today's episode of RBR is once again sponsored by The Ridge, my favorite wallet company, my daily wallet. And I've got a new one to show you today, actually. It's a nice coincidence because we're sitting here with a nice GT63S E Performance. Now check this out, sorry for that. That is cool. This is the new forged Ember wallet. I think I'll actually swap it with my new one. Look at that, that is gorgeous. Really matches the GT quite nicely. Now the Ridge wallets, they're really cool. You can fit a multitude of cards within them. They've got RFID blocking technology, so all your card information is safe. But most importantly, once you get all your cards in there, nice and slim, and when you pop it in your pocket, it doesn't bulge at all. There's loads of finishes to choose from, like titanium, carbon, this forged look, the Ember look, which is awesome as well. And RBR viewers get a lovely 10% discount as well. Just use the code RBR. They're a massive supporter of the channel, so guys, get yourself an amazing wallet like I have and support our sponsors as well. So long-time viewers will remember when I reviewed my GT63S, I likened it to my friend Sonic the Hedgehog, whereas today's car is a bit more like Idris Elba's Knuckles. A real brute. Do you need all that power? I don't know. Let's find out today, because every future AMG big flagship is going to be using electrification and thus hybrid power with combustion in some form or another. And this, like I said, is the first car that gives us, the customers, an idea of what that future is going to be like. Now, where does this car get its power from? The standard GT63S with a pure combustion car alone gives us 635 brake horsepower and a 0 to 60 of 3.2 seconds. And as we said, it is the fastest four-seat, four-door car on the ring. But that's just the combustion engine by itself. This V8 hybrid system completely eclipses that car. It's got 843 brake horsepower. It's got 1,400 Newton meters of torque and 0 to 60 of 2.9 seconds, which is insane. How do they do it? They start first with the engine. It's the familiar V8 4-litre bi-turbo engine from AMG that we've seen across all of their cars. But here we've got a BSG, or a belt-driven starter generator within this that combines both the alternator and the starter into one unit and then gives an extra 14 horsepower. And it allows seamless shift from the combustion engine to electrical power. That's just a small part of this system. The big thing comes on the rear. This is the electric drive unit, or the EDU, and it's a super clever system, again, developed hand in hand with high performance powertrains in Brixworth in the UK, the F1 team. The EDU houses 3 really important components within it. First is the electric motor itself, and it sits on the rear axle. This is a permanently synchronous electric motor like you see in something like a Taycan or in the EQS. And alongside this, we also have a 2-speed transmission in here where the second gear handles higher speeds. And finally, the limited slip differential is also housed within this very clever unit in the rear. So saving space, saving weight, and all going there on the rear axle, which is great. That's just one part of it. Next comes the AMG Performance batteries. Again, developed hand in hand with high performance powertrains in Brixworth and pretty much coming straight out of the tech from the AMG 1 hypercar. This is a 400 volt battery with 560 cells. It's an always alive system and it can provide 93 brake horsepower continuously or peak for 10 seconds of 201, and that's in addition to what our combustion engine is already providing. So these are crazy figures. Now, how do they maintain that continuous power? Again, comes from AMG 1 hypercar. The individual cells of this car are cooled by liquid, and this is each individual cell rather than air and water cooling the entire battery. The AMG developed cells here cool individually with liquid because of course cells get hot as they're either dissipating or recharging, so it's much more efficient and thus you get that continuous power. So that is your entire system. It adds about 200 kg versus a standard GT63. Similar figures for, say, the 4-cylinder version as well. It allows you to have a completely independent EV mode for a limited range, something like 18 kilometers. It's not a huge amount, but it is available in the car. And that is predominantly rear-wheel drive, but the EDU does act independently of the transmission, and using AMG's 4MATIC system, it can change and direct the power of either combustion or ICE to any wheel as it sees fit. So a really clever mind within here as well. Now, as you can see, this is a pretty modular system because basically the front of our combustion car remains intact. There's nothing, no hybrid system linking to like the gearbox or the engine at the front. Everything, all the tech is right at the rear. You can imagine this rolling out into pretty much any current AMG as well as all the future ones. So really modular and really quite clever. As modular as that system is, regardless, the battery has got to go somewhere. And you can see versus the normal GT63S, you've got the lump in there. So that's where the battery unit that I showed you sits, 89 kg worth of a 400 volt, 560 cell battery. It does take up quite a bit of space. What we're gonna do, we're gonna load up some luggage. Actually, here's a little behind the scenes tidbit. Mercedes always give such awesome luggage tags on every press trip. We've got reams of these at home and it makes for a lovely souvenir. Anyway, let's try and fit this stuff in. Got quite a few bags here. See, that's not half bad. It's not completely full. You can remove the luggage cover as well. So it's okay, I think, for a hybrid car. That's not too bad. What is bad, what is absolutely terrible, is this. What the... Jamie, back away. Back up. Back up. Show them how bad it looks from the middle. That ain't right. It's weird. Now, they did say to me that it was tough to re-engineer everything to come on that side. So you had a fuel, like an electric port on that side. But the new SL was built from the ground up and it has it in the exact same spot. So I'm calling bullshit. I get that it's more convenient here, which is fine. But for me, symmetry is so important. That's just weird. GT63 E Performance cars seem to have the red graphic, which again, you can't tell on this as much as the silver car, around the logos, which is nice. It's a bit of a differentiator. You can see all the badging is like a dark chrome black as well. But yeah, that doesn't sit well with me at all. Design-wise, it's pretty much identical to your GT63S, which is a shame. They should have changed something in it. You've got the wheels, they're nice aerodynamically enhanced wheels, as you can see. A really nice design, actually. Look even better in the silver version. But like I said, everything else, pretty much the same. Rear pipes look really nice. Design-wise, it's exactly what you expect. I genuinely don't know if we'll ever see a four-door GT ever again. So again, that makes this car pretty special for all of us. So guys, undoubtedly, it's a force to be reckoned with at 843 brake horsepower. But like I said, no one ever came out of a GT63 thinking, I need more power. So why does this thing exist? What does it show us about where AMG are taking their flagships in the future? It's a really interesting question for me as a customer. Let's find out today. Let's find out right now. And I also want to show you a couple of things inside to do with the EV system and the sound. The sound is actually a big part of this car's experience. So as you jump in the GT63S E Performance, the reason I brought you into the car, because the rest of it, pretty much the same as the pre-facelift. It's all about the additional bits that the hybrid system gives you in terms of information, in terms of your control over that hybrid system. And there's quite a lot of information. I always prefer information. I like information overload rather than manufacturers not giving you the option of seeing what's happening. So firstly, within MBUX, you have loads of different screens that can tell you, for example, the energy flow between either the EDU, the battery, the combustion engine, etc. What is going on with the powertrain and the drivetrain itself. So that's really useful. It gives you the kilowatts, it gives you the Newton meters, etc. and the charging level, which is great. You go into then drive, and again, you get per unit the amount of RPM, the amount of torque. Again, this is so useful. This is particularly for us, we want to see what's going on here. So I'm going to leave that screen there while I'm driving, get an idea of exactly what's happening with the drive system itself. So again, really useful. Apart from that, you got the usual ones like vehicle, which has got your braking and how much, the formatting system is being used, etc. So all of that usual stuff in there as well. But the energy flow systems, etc., telling us what's happening there. I love that. That's great. Then the driver zone. Again, loads of information in here. As you guys know, AMG have always given us lots of individualization within the driver zone. So you can have, Newton meters or power or your driving modes or your maps or whatever you want in there to your own needs. And with the addition of the P3 hybrid system, they've added a few new ones. So we've got one here which gives you kilowatts and Newton meters and charge levels, etc. Again, designed like the AMG logo, which is lovely. That's a good one to have. We'll use that on that side. On the left side, another really useful one is giving you information about the batteries and which gear the electric drive is in. There's only 2 gears, but again, it's interesting for us guys to see how that's working. So I'm going to leave that on there, and we can see how much it's charging, what the battery level is, etc. while we're driving. So all of that, really good. The other thing about this car is you can choose recuperation levels here within the lovely AMG drive units. I'm not going to spend time criticizing the steering wheel again. I've done it every time I've sat in front of this thing. It's too thick, too unwieldy. I hate the touch controls, they're awful. Paddles are amazing and the drive units are amazing. Let's get back to those. So if you press where you normally have your drive mode here, like comfort, etc., you then get the 3 recuperation modes. And you can toggle these as you go through and as you're driving. And at the 3rd setting, this thing will charge up to 90 kilowatts in speed. Again, which is brilliant. Or for example, you go into race mode, do a couple of laps of a circuit and charge that thing back up, say, from 50% to 100%. So it's quite good in getting the power back through your driving, through your braking, through your recuperation as well. Now, sound, really interesting, okay? We haven't got an exhaust on button, instead we've got the sound wave button, because there's 2 different sounds within this car, and I'm going to talk a lot about this while we're driving. Let's start first by starting the car in comfort mode. Have a listen. If you've heard that sound before in one of my videos, that was from the EQS. So it's the same electric AMG sound from the EQS 53 AMG, and that's what the car uses to start and stop in comfort mode or in the EV mode. So that's your EV sound. And it's nice that it links to the electric AMGs, right? But if you don't want that, and I don't blame you, all you have to do is the old AMG Emotion Start shortcut, hold the paddle, and you get your nice traditional combustion AMG startup. So really, you've got the best of both worlds. You can be quiet if you want for your neighbours, or make a bit of a song and dance in race mode. Any fears of this V8 still not sounding good with an electrical system? I think there's no fears to be had. Now let's drive this, let's see what it's all about, and I'll talk about that sound while you're driving. Right, let's start the car up. I'm going to explore EV mode first. Let's go into EL, because you can actually hear something, not just inside, but on the outside as well. the inside of the car. It's that EQS type sound, both on the inside and on the outside. Which is so bizarre when you look at the GT63S shape. It's making EV sounds, right? Anyway, what's more interesting is put the sound button on, exhaust button, sound button, whatever, when you're in comfort, and you can hear both. So both the V8 and the electric sound. I don't know how well it's going to translate into the microphone, but it's quite interesting when you're kind of cruising around town and you get a bit of both. So if we drive slowly, you can hear both the electric sound and the V8 rumble, which is really quite strange. And I wonder if this will be a bit more obvious in the 4-cylinder C63 when you've got, you know, the somewhat, I'm guessing, tame 4-cylinder sound with quite a powerful electric car sound. It might be quite an interesting mix. It's something we've never experienced before, let's put it that way. New territory. Could be terrible or could be quite exciting, because we all quite like the sound of electric cars, don't we? Like the Taycan, etc. If you had a bit of combustion car noise within there, it's a whole different scenario now, isn't it? And now I'm in comfort mode and the car will switch between combustion or the EDU, so you get a bit of that EV flavour, and it's perfectly quiet and pretty comfortable in and around town. Anyway, we're going to put the car into Sport Plus and see what this car can do, because what is the point of an 843 brake horsepower GT63S? I need to know this. I did about 17,000 miles in my normal one, so I'm pretty well placed to tell you what this thing is like. So throttle response is crazy. We can see what's going on here with the great animations here on screen, showing you when the EDU is active and where the power is going. The throttle response is just like an EV, but you've actually got a V8 there as well. It's so bizarre. It's not like a mild hybrid system. This thing feels like a proper marriage between an EV and a powerful V8. So the throttle response is bloody amazing, to be honest. The speed is just stupid. It really is. Do you need this kind of speed in a road car? This type of horsepower? I'm just not convinced of it. And then you really become aware of the weight as soon as you get to anything that even half resembles a corner. This is 2.5 tons of car, and I'm telling you, it's not really masking it. GT63S was a heavy car, but what they did with that was really hide the weight well. It's hard to hide another 200 kg, isn't it? Right, now, to really assess speed, we need to check out the launch control. It's really important for this car because it's supposed to be under 3 seconds. Right, there we go. I'm not sure I'm ready for this. Whoa! Jesus! Oh my God, it wheel spun at like 3rd gear, I think. Right, so that was 3 seconds. We saw it wheel spin at 3rd as well, meaning it could be even faster. Plus, I've got luggage in the back, which is quite heavy as well. So that is pretty damn quick. It's not massively quicker on paper than the GT63S, but it feels way quicker. And the way that it was squirming trying to put the power down, what an absolute animal. Handling is a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it? This is a heavy car. 2.5 tons? Makes it very different to drive versus GT63S. Honestly, I've been driving this for a while now. Every time I get close to a corner, I start to get a bit scared because the limits of understeer come a lot quicker, in my opinion, than they did in the normal GT63S. And the steering, I hate the steering wheel, which doesn't help. It's so massive, it's hard to get your entire hand around it, the spoke. But then the feedback I'm getting, I mean, the steering feel on the GT63S is some of the best I've ever had in a performance saloon. This is, it's just a little bit vaguer. I wonder if we've got more power going through our front drive shafts, hence that feeling of numbness, because of course that much more horsepower. Now the Taycan Turbo S, for example, probably similar weight to this. That just feels more nimble because I think all of your weight sitting right at the floor instead of this where it's kind of mixed between the front and then the EDU on the rear. It's still a good weight balance, but nowhere near as sweet. When you can come into this corner here, attack it, and the rear is like, and the front starting to skid forward. It's, you know, it scares you, and it doesn't give you then the confidence to push harder like the GT63S would. The sound in V8 mode, it's of course immense, lots of pops and bangs. Down. Shift up is pretty immediate. See what the downshift is like. Pretty good. 9-speed has really improved over time by AMG. It's a really tough one, this, because I can definitely see the benefits of the system. Getting the full force of the electric motors in the EDU, allowing for no delay in power, that extra torque, that extra horsepower, always available. It undoubtedly adds to the experience of the combustion engine. But when you've already got such a powerful combustion engine and such a big and heavy car, I don't think you're fully appreciating how good this system could be in a lighter car, perhaps a less powerful combustion engine. Maybe this is where that four-cylinder C63 begins to make more sense than this car would, where the horsepower isn't as crazy, the weight is hopefully, you know, will be of course less than this car. Still going to be a heavy car, but not to the levels of this. Because at some point, physics does have to intervene. Yeah, you may not have the V8 rumble, but you might have a car that makes a lot more sense, certainly to me, than this car does. I don't think I would take this over a GT63S because that is just the creme de la creme. It's right up there with something like the M5 CS. Not quite as track focused as the CS, but definitely better breadth of ability. Such an experience to own and live with because it does all the luxury stuff so well, just like this car does. But then when you throw it into race mode, it's an absolute animal, and it actually handles bloody well as well. The figures of this car are incredible. 843 brake horsepower. You can see how cars in the future like the S63, maybe even the G, definitely the SL, etc., are all going to benefit from this system. I just don't think that the GT63S benefits as much as some others might. So this isn't something I thought I'd be saying, but I'm quite excited to see the four-cylinder version of this P3 hybrid system. I think that makes a lot more sense. I think my first opinion stands that the GT63S doesn't need more power, nor does it really benefit from a little bit of electric range from quite a heavy battery. What will benefit, I think, is these future cars with the smaller engine and the whole EDU thing. I think that's going to be really quite exciting. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this first drive of the GT63S E Performance. If you have, please do like and subscribe to RBR, support our sponsors as well. And I'll see you guys next time.